Was Esther truly powerful or just a channeling demon? We find out today on Vampire Diaries theories. As we know, Esther, like her lineage, right? We have like the firstborn in her family takes like a lot of the power, to be honest. You feel me? Like it's just like genuinely one of them ones. But when it comes to Esther herself, so like Daya's cool, but when it comes to Esther, a lot of her magic is, oh my gosh, the knowledge that I took from the Bennets, right? Because we have the immortality situation, right? When it comes to Ketsia Silas and da da da, that happens, and then of course we have, I think her name was Ayana. I think her name was Ayana Bennett, and she wasn't gonna help. You feel me? Esther, and Esther was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, cool." You feel me? But I feel like somewhere in that whole argument or discussion, Esther remembered what Ayana said, the ingredients for the immortality elixir, or at least know where to find it. You know what I mean? Because she has such a close tie to the Bennets, and with that knowledge, she tried to make her own version, right, of the immortality elixir, and nature fought back. You feel me? Esther thought she did her biggest, but nature cooked. You feel me? You're gonna have a weakness. You're gonna have a weakness, my darling. You feel me? You don't even wanna have the correct like magic level. I don't think you have even the correct power level to even pull this immortality stuff off for real, and to perfect it to the point that Ketsia did. You feel me? And of course Silas. You dig me? So I don't even. So nah, we're gonna definitely give you a lot of consequences. You feel me? But she has this whole situation where she's channeling constantly the Bennets. You feel me? She has this special connection, right? The Bennets was her. Ayana Bennett was her mentor when she was like after she had like become estranged from Daya. Ayana Bennett was her mentor, and she just had this. While on the other side, when she died, right, by Niklaus's hand, right. While on the other side, witches can still do magic, right? Usually you're by yourself, whatever, whoop, but she still was able to, I guess, have this. I'm about to get very deep here. Ketsia created the other side. Ketsia also put the Bennett witches, or just I'll say witches in general, but truly the Bennets, to be honest, in charge of the other side. You know what I mean? So if Ayana Bennett is your best friend, you dig me, and you die and then you go to the other side. Wait for a second. I just thought of something crazy. I just thought about how like once you die, you're going through the anchor. What do you mean by that? You're going through a Mars. So everybody who has died, right? This is a video about Esther, but like everybody who has died, like an Esther, right, has gone through Amara. That's crazy. Which means that they saw like Elena. Well, they knew Elena was a doppelganger, right? They knew about Catherine of it all. You hear me? About Tati of it all, right? But they saw the original face when they died. Every supernatural saw the original. Well, not every supernatural. Some with the hell, some with the peace. You know what I mean? Some went to limbo, but a lot of supernaturals that went to the other side saw the original face. So, like, if we're talking like a Cole Michelson, in theory, yeah, in theory, he saw. That's crazy. In theory, Cole Michelson saw Amara. He had to pass through Amara. Now, of course, she would have been stoned by this point, right? So it would be like, oh my gosh, I'm passing through this random lady. You know what I mean? This random lady. But that's so funny, yeah. That's so good. That's so good. So damn good. Anyways, let's talk about Esther. Was she a channeling demon? Did she need the Bennets? To be honest, she's talking about some "Don't abandon me, sisters," right? And that's really like a foreshadowing, right, of the whole Dahlia situation. Sisters, don't abandon me. That's tough. That's like a call. Well, that's definitely a foreshadowing of the whole Dahlia situation. So she was trying to find this like camaraderie or sisterhood within the Bennett bloodline, whilst also leeching off the Bennets. To be honest, I don't know. I feel like because of the racial aspect of just the world in general, you're always going to be like, well, she's leeching off a black woman or a black bloodline. Simple as that. You feel me? That's the way I see it. Do you dig me? She's not actually powerful. I don't care if you created 1,000 originals, right? You're just leeching off the power and the substance of black women. But if we're talking about looking at it from like this aspect of like being estranged from your sister. Now, your sister did take your firstborn. She took Freya. But this aspect of like, oh my gosh, I want a sisterhood. I want a sisterhood. I want like to feel like I have a sister again. Ugh. And like trying to achieve that via this ridiculous connection, this fickle, ridiculous connection between you and a Bennett witch, right? It's hilarious. And I feel like there's some genuine sisterhoodness in there. You feel me? Some good intentions, but there's also simultaneously this weird leeching situation because as long as you can channel the Bennett bloodline, you're good. Do you dig me? You're good. Like, really think about it. Look at it from the omniscient perspective. Dahlia got all the great genes in the world. Like, for me, not just like physically, right, or anything like that, but we're talking magically. She got all the great genetics magically. So when we're talking about an Esther, her cozying up to the Bennetts was a smart move. You feel me? You can get sisterhood and you can always amplify your power for powerful spells. You know what I mean? The only way that they created, the only way that the originals even came about was because of her connection to a Bennett. So, mind you, that's a theory, right? But that theory turns into fact when you realize that the immortality elixir in which form, firstly, was created by a Silas and a Ketsia. Who Ketsia is? Ketsia is related to Bonnie. And then she would pass that information down, the immortality elixir down. It would be forbidden, but she would pass the information down, right? The people in the Bennett bloodline to the people, to their family members. You know what I mean? I guess the answer has always been both, right? She has a little bit of power. You know what I mean? But she also, and I think it becomes less about power and more about knowledge. That's why I say that Silas and Ketsia are the smartest witches of all time. Period. Point blank. Full stop. Because it becomes way more about knowledge, about what you know, not how powerful you are. You know what I mean? In most instances, especially when it comes to nature, especially when it comes to this TVD world, it becomes more about what you know instead of how powerful you are. I could even go to, I bring this up a lot, but I could even go to this instance where Silas, right, he's trying to help Bonnie, right, bring back her friends and bring back himself in season 5, and he makes this spell. I mean, this spell is perfect. This spell is like completely reverse engineering the way that the anchor functions. You feel me? Turning it on its head, right? Usually people go through Bonnie, she experiences death, whatever the heck. But this time, Silas has created this spell that has it to where um it does the opposite, right? So when you touch Bonnie, people actually get back onto the mortal plane instead of actually going over to the other side. You feel me? And that in itself is a huge spell. I mean, colossal spell. But that's the knowledge, right? The spell is the knowledge. Silas was dead by that point. So who had to do the spell? Someone like a Liv. You feel me? Like an Olivia, right? And she's been doing magic since she was young, but it's not like she's like OD powerful. You know what I mean? She's just Olivia. You know what I mean? She's just Liv. You know what I mean? But because she had the knowledge, right? Because he was able to tell Bonnie the spell, Bonnie was able to give the spell to Liv, right? And Liv was able to then do the spell. It was a mediocre witch. No, not mediocre witch is crazy. It was a intermediate, right? Witch, right? Intermediate is crazy. Intermediate and mediocre might be the same type of synonymous or whatever. It might be synonymous, but whatever. It was like an intermediate witch, right? Doing a spell. Mind you, a witch that was like weaker than Luke, if I'm correct. But anyways, which was her twin brother. But anyways, it was an intermediate witch doing a colossal spell. And so it becomes less about the witch capabilities, but more so about the inspiration, the invention, the magical idea, inclinate. I don't even know how to say it really, but the inspiration of the heights of the spell, right? So when we're talking about someone like that spell is insane to me. To me, that reverse engineering the way that the anchor works, bro, is crazy to me. But it's fine. But yeah, so it's always about the spell knowledge and less about the witch capability. So we're talking about Esther and the immortality and like trying to create her own, or trying to replicate the immortality spell, but failing miserably because nature is like fighting back way too hard. Way to try harding, right? There's this whole idea of, okay, Esther was like she was I for me. I give her um I give her a plus. I wanted to say A minus so bad. Not even so bad. I was kind of 50-50. I give her an A plus. She's an A plus witch, right? Ketchy and Silas is Ketchy and Silas is S tier, right? Completely S tier. SS plus. You know what I mean? SS plus. But when we're talking about Esther, right? She's an A plus witch. She's an A plus witch, you know. But then again, you have to talk about Dahlia, right? So I have to get let's bring in Dahlia, right? Esther is a not A minus, but an A witch, right? Dahlia is an A plus witch, and Silas and Ketsia is a SS plus. Not an S witch, but an SS plus. You're crazy. You feel me? You're crazy. So who's S plus? So who's S? Who's S? I don't know. We'll figure it out later. But when we're talking about this idea of like the immortality, right? It's more so about the spell. So the spell, the knowledge of the spell, is what makes Esther seem so powerful. But in truth, she's just an A witch, an A grade witch. You know what I mean? In reality, in actuality. So, and most of her stuff, right? As far as like she using talismans and all type of stuff to do the spell. You talking about to do the spell, great though. She using talismans and all type of stuff. But who knows if she was using talismans to do that spell? But I mean, hey, wait for a second. She has a talisman. You feel me? But I'm gonna stay on topic. So the conclusion of this video is that Esther was a grade witch who utilized, right? It was more so about who utilized Bennett's, you know what I mean, to amplify her power 24/7 pretty much. 24/7 pretty much. Or to like progress or to like do spells of colossal heights, to do colossal spells. That immortality spell or whatever, that's the Bennett's, right? Her channeling, right? A lot of people on the other side. You feel me? Her channeling, ood whoop. What's it called? Abby and Body. You feel me? Once again, the Bennetts. You know what I mean? She even says that she has a long history with the Bennetts. You know what I mean? So it was more so about the spell. We're talking like intellect. That goes to the Bennett's. When we're talking about channeling, that goes to the Bennett's. You feel me? The amplification of her power. You feel me? She's pretty A grade, and that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed. What are your thoughts? And do you think that, like, should I do a witch ranking? Oh my god, I shouldn't I? Should I do like a witch ranking next video? Comment down below. But peace out. Oh, like the video too. If you like the video, I won't go inside your house in 3 seconds. I almost fell.